There lived a young crab named Carl and his wise old mother, Madam Crab. They made their home in a cozy sandy burrow under a beautiful shimmering rock. One sunny afternoon, as they were having a picnic near the water's edge, Madam Crab looked at Carl and said, "My dear son, why do you always walk sideways like that?" "You should walk straight like all the other creatures." Carl blinked his big eyes and replied, "Show me how, dear mother." Madam Crab felt a little embarrassed. She thought for a moment and decided she would show him how to walk straight. She took a deep breath, lifted her claws high, and tried to walk straight. But no matter how hard she tried, she ended up wobbling and swaying, her claws moving in all the wrong directions. She ended up tumbling over and landing in a little pile of sand. Carl couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, mother, you're much better at walking sideways." But then he noticed that she looked sad. "I'm sorry, dear mother," he said gently. "You don't have to walk straight if it makes you uncomfortable." Madam Crab smiled, realizing how silly she had been to criticize her son. "You're right, Carl. Every crab has his own way of moving. And that's perfectly okay. Let's walk sideways together." A sudden wave crashed onto the shore, and the tide began to rise. Carl and Madam Crab looked at each other with wide eyes. "We need to find a safe place," said Carl, his heart racing with excitement. "Let's scuttle to the big rock." They hurried sideways, dodging the waves as they splashed around them. But as they neared the rock, they saw something strange, a shadow lurking nearby. Carl whispered, "What is that?" The shadow moved closer, and they could see it was a big, hungry seagull. "Oh no!" cried Madam Crab. "We must be very quiet and quick." Adam's little heart raced with both fear and thrill. They hid behind a tiny seaweed patch, trying to be as still as possible. The seagull squawked and flapped its wings, searching for lunch. Carl held his breath, hoping the bird wouldn't find them. "Maybe if we move sideways, we can sneak past it," Carl suggested. Madam Crab nodded, and together they began to scuttle sideways, keeping low to the ground. Their little claws made soft sounds in the sand. The seagull spotted them. "Quick!" shouted Madam Crab. They dashed sideways as fast as they could, zigzagging and darting between rocks and shells. The seagull swooped down, but it was too big to navigate the tight spaces. Carl and his mother made it to the safety of their burrow just in time. They breathed heavily, their hearts pounding with both fear and excitement. "We did it!" Carl cheered, his eyes sparkling with joy. "We worked together and escaped." Madam Crab hugged her son tightly. "Yes, we did. And remember, just like we walk sideways, it's important to be ourselves and find our own way even in tricky situations." From that day on, Carl walked proudly sideways, knowing that it was perfectly okay to be a little different. And his mother, Madam Crab, always reminded him that sometimes the best way to teach is by showing your own strength and courage. And so they lived happily ever after, exploring the sea, facing adventures together, and always remembering the fun they had during that thrilling day by the shore.